All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new movie review. I just got back from watching Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is the new installment in the kind of long-running, Planet of the Apes movies that was rebooted about a decade or maybe almost a decade and a half ago at this point. And this is definitely a continuation of the trilogy that ended with Matt Reeves' third film. And this film picks up generations. They don't tell you how many, just that this is many generations after Caesar. And there are groups still carrying on Caesar's legacy. Now, I'm going to keep this review as spoiler-free as possible so you can go to the movies and experience this too. Now, if you are a fan of the other three movies, I do highly recommend seeing this film. My wife is excited to see it. I went and saw it by myself so I could get my review up, and I will be going with my wife when she has the time, and I will see this film again. Now, we have some newcomers in this movie. Well, it's all newcomers because many generations later means nobody is still alive. We have a couple of interesting humans in this movie. The one you've seen from the trailer is a girl named May in the film, played by, I don't know how you say her name. It's either Freya or Freya Allen. She was from The Witcher. She is joined by another human that I'm not going to mention in this. You'll see in the film who he is, played by a very famous character actor. You'll recognize him as soon as you see him. And then we have a bunch of new apes in this movie. The most not well-known one, but the one who is going to carry this movie and is basically taking the place of Caesar is Noah, played by Owen Teague. Now, that's all I'm going to give away as far as the characters in the film. You've seen the trailer. If you haven't seen the trailers, there's some interesting stuff that happens in this movie. Now, first of all, know that this is a long movie, and it does feel long. I looked at my watch several times. They really could have sped the story up. It didn't have to be 2.5 hours. This is one of those films that could have been under 2 hours and still got the message across. And what's disappointing about the time, it's not really the pacing. I think the pacing is good as they go from one story beat to the next. But the problem is this movie is nothing other than a setup for future films. And when you realize that, well, it's more than when you just realize it, but when you get to the end and you see what the purpose of the human was, May's character in the film, it really makes it feel like there needed to be another film before this one to kind of make it flow a little better, especially since it's been many generations. I have some questions. Number one, why can't the apes talk better at this stage? Like they're still using sign language and they have not evolved. That is kind of weird. I would have expected if it's been many generations that they would be better at speaking and they wouldn't even have to use sign language at all. And so I find that kind of odd. Now, there's definitely more than one antagonist in this film. One you're definitely introduced early on in the film and makes a big impact. And then you are introduced to an even bigger threat about an hour and a half into the film. So in the last hour, it might have been a little bit further in than that. And you kind of find out, there's a big mystery that's going on in this movie that leads you up to the third act of the film, which was very entertaining. It was extremely entertaining. I think everybody did a phenomenal job in this film. Everybody from the actors to the CGI. Well, we'll talk about the CGI here in a minute. The one standout for me in this film, though, was the music. I actually will pick up the score for this film. There are some pieces of music in this that are really well done, and I do collect movie scores, and this will be the first one I've thought about purchasing in a very long time outside of the DC stuff that I've really enjoyed. And so I will be looking forward to picking up the score to this one. Now, Matt Reeves did not direct this one. In fact, who directed this one? Is directed by Wes Ball. The writers are Josh Friedman, Rick Jaffa, and Amanda Silver. And so this film definitely feels like a Planet of the Apes film. I think it meshes well with the three that have already come. They definitely mention Caesar quite a bit in this film, even though it's many generations later. And it just once you see the end and then you think about the movie as a whole, I really think there needed to be more told. Like, I think for a 2.5 hour film for what they did, they would have been better served telling a backstory at the beginning so that it would mesh a little better. Let's just put it that way. Because there are a lot of questions that are raised, and whether they answer these in future films is a whole different story. Because first of all, 20th Century Fox is run by Disney now, and Disney is in just as bad a shape as Warner Brother is as far as how they're running their business and their movie division. And who knows if we'll ever get a sequel to this. People need to go see it if they want a sequel. Now let's talk a bit about the CGI. So the CGI to me was interesting. At the very beginning of the film, the CGI was not very good. It looked very much like a cutscene from a video game. It did get better as time went on. Either I got really used to it, or it definitely looked better. I mean, there's one scene where Noah ends up going through some heat and some fire and everything, and you could see the singed hairs on his body. It looked very, very real. And it was really well done. And the whole second half of the film, the CGI was phenomenal on the Apes. The beginning, not so much. It looked very, very video game-esque, and I wasn't buying it. And to me, some of the earlier Apes films, the 3 previous to this that are in this continuity, had better CGI than this one did, especially at the beginning. But later on, I think it did catch up, and it was pretty awesome. So at the end of the day, let's talk about rating this out of 5 stars. There was nothing I really hated, but nothing I really loved, except for the score and the actors. They did a phenomenal job. Like, you really felt for these individuals. So I think they did a good job with that. You don't really care about May's character too much, and we don't know a whole lot about her. And I think that's part of the problem in the film, where I really think they needed to have something before this to kind of set this movie up. Because, again, this feels like nothing other than a big setup for future films. But at the end of the day, out of 5 stars, I would watch this again. I would add it to my collection for the Apes films. So, like I said, I don't have anything really to complain about other than the time could have been spent better with the writing and everything. But I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. I toyed with 3.5, but I enjoyed it more than that, especially with the music and the acting and everything else. It really did mesh together well. I think you'll have a good time at the theater if you go see it. I really hope I didn't make the review sound more negative than it really is. I actually really did enjoy it, and I looking forward to going back with my wife. And so I think you'll have a good time. If you like the other ones, this one is definitely up your alley and will mesh and fits in with the franchise quite well. All right, guys, there you have it. I will be back with future movie reviews. There are a lot of good movies coming up shortly, and I will be reviewing those and getting those up as soon as I am able to see those films. All right, guys, we will see you on the next review.